Volume 1, Chapter 1 of the Old Manor House. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Old Manor House by Charlotte Tunner Smith. Volume 1, Chapter 1. In an old manor house in one of the most southern cities of England, resides some few years since the last of a family that had for a long series of years possessed it. Mrs. Rayland was the only survivor of the three co-heiresses of Sir Hildebrand Rayland, one of the first of those to whom the title of baronet had been granted by James I. The name had been before of great antiquity in the country, and the last baronet having only daughters to share his extensive possessions, these ladies had been educated with such very high ideas of their own importance, that they could never be prevailed upon to lessen, by sharing it with any of those numerous suitors who for the first 40 or 50 years of their lives surrounded them. And Mrs. Barbara the eldest, and Mrs. Catherine the youngest, died single, one at the age of 70, and the other that of 68. By which events the second, Miss Grace, saw herself at the advanced age of 69 sole inheritor of the fortunes of her house, without any near relation, or indeed any relation at all, whom she chose to consider as entitled to possess it after her death. About 4 miles from the ancient and splendid seat she inhabited, dwelt the only person who could claim any affinity with the Rayland family. This was a gentleman of the name of Somerive, who was considered by the people of the country as heir at law, as he was the grandson of one of the sisters of Sir Hildebrand. But Mrs. Rayland herself, whose opinion was more material, since it was all at her own disposal, did not by any means seem to entertain the same idea. The venerable lady and her 2 sisters had never beheld this their relation with the eyes of their friendly interest, nor had they ever intended towards him that generous favour which they had so much the power to afford, and which could not have failed to prove very acceptable, since he had married early in life, and had a family of 2 sons and 4 daughters to support on the produce of an estate which, though he funded himself, did not bring in a clear £500 a year. Various reasons, or rather prejudices, had concerned to occasion this coolness on the part of the ladies towards their cousin. Their aunt, who had married his ancestor, had, as they had always been taught, degraded herself extremely by giving herself to a man who was a mere yeoman. The son of this union had however been received and acknowledged as the cousin of the illustrious heiress of the house of Rayland, but following most plebeian-like the unaspiring inclination of his own family, he had fallen in love with a young woman, who lived with them as companion, when it was believed that, as he was a remarkably handsome man, he might have lifted his eyes with impunity to one of the ladies. This occasioned an estrangement of many years, and had never been forgiven. The recollection of it returned with acrimonious violence, when the son of this imprudent man imitated his father, 25 afterwards, and married a woman, who had nothing to recommend but her beauty, simplicity, and goodness. However, notwithstanding the repeated causes of complaint this luckless family of Somerive had given to the austere and opulent inhabitants of Rayland Hall, the elder lady had on her deathbed recollected that, though dismayed by the alloy of unworthy alliances, they carried in their veins a portion of that blood which had circulated in those of the august personage Sir Orlando de Rayland, her grandfather, and she therefore recommended Mr. Somerive and his family, but particularly his youngest son, who was named, by reluctantly obtained permission after Sir Orlando, to the consideration of her sisters, and even gave to Mr. Somerive himself a legacy of £500, a gift which her sisters took so much amiss, for they possessed between them a yearly income of near twice £500, that it had nearly rendered her injunction abortive, and they treated the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?